saw your story, your new videos about storytelling. I used them to correct my stories in webtoons. You've been watching them for your webtoons. I'm surprised. Honestly, I didn't really think people were oh my goodness, your little Bing is putting that. I didn't really think people were watching them, low-key. I was kind of surprised. I've been trying to figure out how to get them to get some traction. I'm glad you like them. I was asking someone about them. I was just like, is there even a way for me to get them to move traction? And people were saying, yeah, they're probably not gonna get traction because no one knows who these characters are. So it's kind of sad, but I'm glad you were able to get some inspiration out of them. Which one helped you the most? I know 2 of them popped off somehow. One of them's called The Rise and Fall of the Villainous, What Happened, which surprisingly got over 1,000 views, which is, to me, on my gaming channel, is surprising. It actually got a good like ratio. And the other one was How to Write a Woman, I think. It barely got any likes though, so it got a lot of views. And then like the third video, which had my own OC on it, had like 300 views, which, I mean, I know it's not a lot for other people's standards, but to me it is, because it's like the game itself doesn't have a big following. So I was kind of happy that there are some people who are actually getting recommended. The one that has 300 views shocks me because it has 24 likes. It's How to Write a Spoiled Not Rotten Character. It has 24 likes, right? But the one that has 1,000 views has 27 likes. I was just like, how the one that has 300 views has more, like, around the same likes, right? So that kind of was interesting to me, right? You guys think I came a long way? I feel like I've been stagnant for so long, honestly. Because you guys actually don't even know my original story. I was actually a PokeTuber originally, right? And I had actually at one point 20 plus concurrent viewers. However, I changed my branding. I kept my name, but I changed branding in terms of, instead of being a PokeTuber, I was changing to play different games aside from Pokemon, because people wanted to watch something besides Pokemon. But then all the audience left from me watching Pokemon, and I didn't know how to get the viewers back, so I took a hiatus, and I've been having to grow back ever since basically Scarlet and Violet, honestly. Which, how long has that been? So it's kind of been a plateau since that. You guys, now I've been having to change the branding like multiple times. I wrote, this is satire. I wrote something about pay up, pay pigs, like, if you like my content, right? And no one understood, even though I wrote this is satire. Ever heard of Multiverse Sonic? Kind of. And no one understood that it was, I literally said this is satire. So it's like one of those things that I just have to say, like, it's a joke, by the way, chat. So but yeah, I hope that maybe one day these webtoon videos actually do pop up. I'm surprised someone actually watching them, like, it's actually getting like one person coming back to watching them, because they're not being recommended. So it's like someone's actually watching my videos. That's insane. Like, people are actually going back to watch those videos. I appreciate it nonetheless. I don't know, maybe it's one of those things that it's just like people will just, like, over time just see. I don't know, but I do hope it could actually help people, because it's one of those things that when I became a game developer and writing stories, it's like, dang, I wish I kind of figured this out, because you would think being unique and making video games would sell, but you kind of have to be not unique in a sense. Like, and what I mean by that is that if you're too unique, it would kind of make you perform badly. And what I mean by that is that being too unique makes you where it's like, how do I describe you? When you're too unique, and I am a game developer, yes. When you're too unique, you don't have tropes and whatnot. That, like, even though you're using tropes, it's kind of weird how when you do not have so many like generic stuff happening. It's kind of hard to be like, oh, this is a reference to, oh, this is a reference to, oh, this is a reference to, compared to when you're unique, right? Because you're like, what is this a reference to, right? Does that make sense? Compared to versus X, Y, and Z, right? And that's what I mean by that. Having the uniqueness factor like works, don't get me wrong, but you have to also figure out why uniqueness works. It's kind of difficult having both work at the same time. And that's what I mean. It's like you need to figure out why certain things work and why certain things don't work. And that's what I mean. Because uniqueness is important. Like what makes your game stand out. But at the same time, you need to figure out what tropes work. Like, for example, people will say they hate the love triangle, right? But at the same time, they love the love triangle, right? So they hate the love triangle because it's frustrating, but at the same time, they love the triangle because it's frustrating. I get it. It's confusing, right? So why is it both? Because it's frustrating to be like, oh, it would be so much easier if only this, and that. Like, you understand that, the audience, right? But it makes the story boring, right? They don't want a boring story. And that's the problem. Like, when you have a realistic story, some people want that realistic story. But some people want the fantasy, right? And it depends on what your audience is, right? So, for like my game, Artist Choice, right? The fantasy aspect is not what I was going for. I was going for the reality aspect. Now, my game is targeted for like a 16 to 13, 16 plus audience, right? And what do 16-year-olds want? They want a fantasy. And that's my problem, right? Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say? That the fantasy is what they were going for. So my game fails to capture what they want because they want a fantasy. They don't want reality. If they want reality, they'll be living in it. So that's why my uniqueness failed. Does that make sense to you guys? The uniqueness failed is because that's not what the audience wants. So, but like, how does uniqueness work? So, think of a game that has uniqueness. Let's think about it. What is a game that you consider unique and why you consider it unique? Doki Doki, right? But think about why it's considered unique. Because it's not unique in its premise. The premise is not unique, right? The premise is not unique. You are a schoolboy going to high school, an anime high school, with your childhood friend. Is that unique? No. What's unique about it is the ending, the twist. That's what makes it unique. But everything around it is cookie cutter, is what you expect from a visual novel. All that stuff is what you expect from a visual novel. And that's why it works. Because it took what you expected and flipped it around. And that's how it got its audience. That's why there's people still modding the game to this day. That's why I was trying to explain. I hope you guys understood what I meant. Yeah, what do you guys think about it?